What's up, everybody? It's Mr. Brock here from youtube.com/MrBrock.net. Go on over to MrBrock.net for a website. I don't care if you go to that website. I make no money if you go there. Actually, they'll probably charge me more for bandwidth. Stay on the website you're on right now, which is YouTube. Yay! Spiral paper. Okay. Did you see the spoiler of Mr. Brock is married? Ooh. Sorry, ladies. He's taken. All right. So here's where we are. We're doing an LEQ review. Just a few little short mementos before we have this AP exam. This is the last minute LEQ survival guide, and I've figured out how to put links in the description, just like a real teen. So make sure you go down there and do that. And so I have a link to this rubric and this thing called the Guatemala paper. It's likely that the Guatemala person who invented this thing is dead. It's been so long ago. I've always said it was a lady, but I don't know why. It could have been a Guatemalan gentleman. It also could be an American in Guatemala. It could also be a Frenchman who likes Guatemala. I mean, anything goes.
Or it could be your alter ego that you look up.
It could be my alter ego. And so either way, this is a really good, helpful thing. And I'll walk you through what I'm going to show you here for the next few moments. The first thing is a blurry and small fonted version of the 2019 AP World History, actually AP History. It's the same for U.S. History, World History, and AP European History rubric for the LEQ. I have a link to a clearer version of that. The Guatemala paper, which is basically a template for how you make sure you write a paper and what it looks like. And then finally, we have a spectacular actual LEQ written by yours truly. And it has even, let's see, can I actually make that happen? Whoa.
Can you explain the differences between like the CCOT, the other ones?
Absolutely not. So student asked about the differences of the different LEQs, and I will talk about that. There are three. And so here is a CCOT LEQ that's written by me, and it has comments on what goes where and why and how. That's pretty neat. And then beyond that is last year's LEQ. I chose the Buddhism, Confucianism, Christianity LEQ because that's more interesting to me. The other option was the Columbian Exchange, and I'm like, come on, I've had enough of this already. Although last night Courtney was on Facebook, and she was like, did you know that tomatoes are not even Italian? And I'm like, And she's like, yeah, I saw it right here on this blog. And I'm like, cool, Courtney. Wow. And then the thing was blurry.
Being smart is knowing that the tomato is a fruit. Being wise is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad.
Ah, you got dad jokes. It's dad jokes. Why did it? Focus. There's a button that says focus. Auto res. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, I want to change my question. Instead of the differences, I just want to know the goal of each one.
Good. So, I will postpone that question as well, and I will still fight with this thing. Ooh. Okay. So here's the deal. What I have is some example LEQs that I'm at least going to walk through and score one of those with you. I think I have a few example LEQs. Okay. And then I have, and so all this stuff is smart to look over. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is talk about the rubric. Okay. And so the rubric is right here on the front, and it is 6 points in total. And the thing that I think should make my students feel good about the LEQ is it is ridiculously similar to the DBQ. Okay, the things that we talked about in our DBQ review are exactly the same. Thesis is exactly the same. Context is exactly the same. And when your boy says exactly the same, I mean it's word for word. They copied and pasted the words from rubric A to rubric B. Okay? And then we move into some things that make it kind of different. And it's in the evidence and then the analysis and reasoning parts of the essay. And all you have to do to get these points is do very specific things. For example, under evidence, you can get 1 point or 2 points. And the difference is to get 1 point, it means you've provided specific examples of evidence relevant to the topic of the prompt. Now, it doesn't say that you've provided specific evidence that answers the prompt. Okay? And so this is here for a kid who threw in something that we want to give them a point. Okay? The second point that we get in evidence is supports an argument in response to the prompt, an argument in response to the prompt using specific and relevant examples of evidence. Examples. Okay? And so the thing here is you can get this first point if you just throw answers. You get the second point if you use the specific historical evidence to answer the question. Okay? And I'll show you guys some examples of people doing this and some examples of people not doing this. Okay? And then we come down to the last 2 points. One is pretty simple and one is pretty complicated. So a question that was asked just a minute ago was, what are the 3 types of LEQs that we can have? There is the CE prompt, and that is cause and effect. Okay? There is the CC prompt, which is compare and contrast, or comparison, you'll see it called. And then there's the CCOT prompt, and that is the change in continuity over time. And what we see that it looks like, what we see. What we see that people, it looks like they're doing on these AP tests is you can see that all three of those essays are set up to where it's wanting you to do two different things, right? Do you guys see that? Cause and effect, compare and contrast, change and continuity, okay? And so what we've seen, it looks like where they're going, is the prompt is only going to ask you to do one. And the reason it's only going to ask you to do one is over here, these extra things, one of the extra things is does both. I got a question.
So to get the analysis and reasoning point, you have to do all of those, or you just have to do one?
Okay, so the question was, how do I get the analysis and reasoning point? Well, the truth is, it's like two different points. You are likely to get the first analysis and reasoning point if you put together some kind of argument, okay? This second point is, like I always call, the mystery point. It's like the seventh point on the DBQ. And it's the going above and beyond what is asked of you and writing a really good essay. And so that second analysis and reasoning point talks about how you are going to make a sophisticated argument. That's kind of what's happening there. So you will never have to talk about comparison and contrast in a CCOT essay, and you'll never have to do cause and effect in a CC essay. I think that's kind of what you're asking, and you don't have to do that.
So are they gonna so if we get cause and effect, will they just say what is the cause of this, and then to get the second point, will we just have to say the cause of this and it led to this?
Yeah. So so the question was, if it's a cause and effect essay, is it probably just going to ask me for a cause, and then for me to try to get the extra point with the effect? And that's right, but just having an effect is not enough to get the second point. And I'll talk in detail about how to get the second point here in just a minute, but it's one of the things that you're going to do. Questions?
So if it says causes and effects,
right. So the question was, what if it says causes? What if it says causes and effects? Is it implying that it wants you to have two causes and two effects? Yeah, it is, but it's not going to be that. They know, they're very formulated in how they're going to do this, and I can prove that to you by showing you last year's LEQ, which is 2 pages back. Okay. So this question says this. It says, in the period 600 CE, BCE to 600 CE, different factors led to the emergence and spread of new religions and belief systems such as Buddhism, Confucianism, and Christianity. Develop an argument that evaluates how such factors led to the emergence or spread of one or more religions in this time period. So is that a CC, a CCOT, or a CE question? Yeah, so it's asking for what caused these the emergence or spread. Do you guys see that? And so this is asking for a cause. It's actually asking you for causes. Do you see that? Evaluate how such factors. Oh, it's blurry. My bad. Man, I hope people actually watch this one day. It's talking about factors. So you need two causes and an effect. And I really, you guys are the ones who cared enough to come in after school and look at this. I really want to hammer home to you guys that you really need to do the 2 and 1 format on the DBQ and the LEQ. That, okay, it asked me for causes. I'm going to give them 2 causes and I'm going to give them 1 effect. Okay, the factors that led to is another way to say causes. Okay, and I want you guys to go into the LEQ knowing they can only ask you 3 questions. They can ask you, what's the cause and effect, what's the compare and contrast, or change of continuity over time. Now, it may say continuities, and then they're implying for you to put in a change. They may say, what are some ways it is different? And they're saying, give me 2 differences and 1 similarity. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Okay. That said, we have this prompt, and the prompt is develop an argument that evaluates how such factors led to the emergence or spread of 1 or more religions in this time period. It's not talking about what the factors are. All right? I don't have any documents to mark up, and I only got 40 minutes to write this thing, right? So the first thing I should start thinking about are, what are some factors, what are some causes for the spread of religions? And I think there's a few dumb, like, duh ones that we can use. Can anybody think of the most obvious one? Yeah, wouldn't you guys say the Silk Roads? Okay, so the Silk Roads is one of the causes. All right, can we defend that? Can we give examples of that? I can think about Ashoka. I can think about up to 600 CE. I can think about the Han Dynasty, Roman Empire, and so I can definitely think about that. Can we think of another cause that led to the spread of these belief systems? There's another one that's kind of broad.
Was it the Muslims that used the monsoon winds, and then whenever they traveled like north or south, they like spread their culture whenever they got married to other women up there or something?
They did do that, but there's 2 reasons why we can't use that. We can't use it because it's out of the time period, because the Muslims are after 600, and also, like, it's specifically giving us examples of Buddhism, Confucianism, and Christianity. So you said Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism, how would that cause the spread? Yeah, but is that really how it happened? Wasn't it really that it was Theravada, and as it moved, it became Mahayana in China? And so I wouldn't say that's a cause. Now, that's an effect. So an effect of these changes, an effect of the spreading of these religions is that they become more diverse within the same religion. I agree with that. And so an effect, you could write, is that it was, that it changed religions. And we can say Thera and Maha. Okay? But I don't say that, I wouldn't say that's a cause. Can we think of another cause?
The Christianization of Rome.
Okay, so now that's very specific. How can we be more broad? Because that's the other one I was looking for. He said the Christian. But that's even more specific, because he just said Christian in Rome, and you said, well, Alexander the Great's Greek. You got Constantine mixed up. Yeah, and that's what I'm looking for, is empires. Is there a guy named Ashoka? Did he run an empire? Did he convert to Buddhism? Did everybody convert to Buddhism? Well, I shouldn't say everybody, should I? And so, all right. So now, something I would like to point out to you, family, is that the structure of your paper is pretty simple. The structure of your paper needs to be this. Broad cause, example, broad cause, example, broad effect, example. Do you guys agree with that? And so that's your 3 paragraphs. And that once you figure that out, your thesis statement's done. Okay? And that's kind of what it says in the Guatemala paper to do. All right? So we already have a broad cause, which is trade routes, right? Okay? What's the example? Silk roads. Okay? We had another broad cause, which is empires. What's an example? Okay, Christian Rome. Okay. And then we had a pretty good effect from Alyssa. So what's our broad effect? It's blurry. Yeah, it changes the religions. Come on. Are you guys just walking up and putting pizza grease on the paper?
Yeah.
Because that's disgusting. You think they bought these document cameras at like a flea market or something? Big Lots? Dollar General. That's nice. Good job, Amy. You think they were on sale? I'll turn the light off. It's worse. What does this button do? I'm not editing this thing. Oh my God, I'm here 2 hours after school. Then I'm going to go home and edit this.
Don't edit this part out.
No way.
Don't edit this
I
part.
need to be real, man. Can I be real a second for just a millisecond? Something, tell the people how I feel a second? Because I'm the model of a modern major general and Lafayette. Okay. Now it's working.
Is it? It's still blurry.
It's still, you're blurry. Now it's not blurry. Look.
Your battery's low.
Your battery's low.
I know.
Aw, jeez. Kids. If I hit it. Everybody's leaving. Is it that bad?
Yeah.
Look at my, like, arms.
Show them your gray beard.
Shut up. My beard's not gray. It's a choice.
She's dying. Can we stare at each other down the hallway? You have a black marker right there. You can just color in it.
I know. I hate everything about this. La da 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 da.
Chris, there's like you're isolated. Man.
That's into the gulag.
Wah. Hey, Langley, young lady.
I was honestly stunned for a second. I didn't say anything bad.
Aw, don't curse.
Don't say that in front of me.
Please
It's Russian. That's like a double whammy.
So true.
Rob, I think electronics just hate you.
should all put in like a few dollars and give Mr. Brock a document.
We
I'll
should.
give you another roll. Of,
Oh
like,
my
change.
gosh.
There we go. I'll just
Yeah,
write
I
it
can
across
see
the
that.
That makes me want to.
Okay, here we go. Broad cause. Example. There we go. Trade routes. Christian Rome. There we go. Okay. Hey, Alyssa, what was your broad effect?
Change of religion.
Change of religion. So it caused the religions to change, as you can see here. And what's a good example of that?
Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism.
Good. Maha and Thera. And we can talk about how each of those happen. Yeah? This is
Are each of those a paragraph?
yeah, so each of these are going to be a paragraph, and the only thing that we are missing is
I think it may have blurrier.
I know. Hold on, let me try this button.
If it makes you feel any better, I can just take my glasses off.
Uh,
The camera. Can I see this?
It might.
Try it.
Try it.
Put both of his glasses up on the camera and see if it fixes it.
oh my God. Here, bring it up.
Oh my gosh. The left button
I need
is
to.
better.
You're the only one.
Why
Oh,
can't you
Bethany,
go?
you're like mega blind.
Yeah, she's very long.
Whoa,
Test.
dude.
You're all blurry.
All right, let's
It's not
see.
just the
If
camera.
that doesn't work, I'll put my contacts
Wait,
under.
that's actually an improvement.
That's.
I wouldn't know.
Hold on.
Try the other leg.
He's
You want me to
gonna
put
hold
my
it the entire
contact
time.
under it? Would that work?
That's biological, Taylor.
The right lens is.
Bless your heart. There we go. So that didn't work.
Why little bat?
I need new glasses.
Those
You
aren't
know,
strong
my
enough.
I don't know what to do. I'm just,
Just try to help the kids.
maybe that button. I don't know what the buttons do. That's a major problem.
Maybe you should work on your channel over this.
My channel is excellent. I made it through
I
Taco
would
Gate
I would
2019.
have 1,000 more subscribers than you in one month.
You,
Audrey,
yeah,
start
because you
studying
have like a
Audrey.
BTS fan channel.
Audrey, start a
Study
channel.
channel.
I'm so trendy. Like,
Whoa, whoa, whoa! What'd I do? If I just hit this button a lot, things happen. It's the exposure button?
See, glasses, you still hit it.
the collection button.
Okay, with 10 minutes left,
So we literally only have 10 minutes
we have
left.
15.
Shut up, we have 15.
Every single hair on everyone's forehead, except
Hmm.
yours.
I don't have hair on my
I
forehead.
don't think
Rob,
I've heard
when you
on my
wash your face, how far do you go up? And with that,
I'll send you a text later and let you know, Bethany. Oh, wait. My mom lets me have my phone.
my mother would chime in and be like, Bethany, you hurt his feelings.
You know what? I think it's okay. All right. So I think the best thing I think we could do here, for time's sake, is for me to kind of walk you guys through. Megan's crying, bless her heart.
We lost Megan in the war.
So, thank you. What I think the best thing I can do in the short amount of time that we have is walk you guys through my example of the CCOT LEQ. And I'm pretty sure this is an older example of, like, this has been released, I'm pretty sure. And so here's the prompt. It says, analyze continuities and changes that resulted from the spread of Islam into one of the following regions in the period between 800 CE and circa 1750. And so a way that would be written differently for the new exam would just say analyze continuities. And it would infer that you are to write about changes as well. Okay? And so what we have, I think it's going to work, is on this document, I have my words and then my comments pointing out what's what. And so I start with setting the stage about Islam to get the context point. This is your introduction to your essay, and really you only need two things in your first paragraph. You need your context. We call it setting the stage in that it's like if there's a play going on, before the first line is said in the play, we have to go out and put all the props out there. What's going on in the world, what's happening before I start talking about this. And the prompt is continuities and changes that resulted from the spread of Islam. Okay? And it lets me choose between or among West Africa, South Asia, and Europe. Okay? And so what we have is we start with the context, and I start with Islam is the fastest spreading religion in the history of mankind. It went from a regional faith of only a few hundred followers in the year 622 to a religion with a vast swath of land on 3 continents with millions of followers in less than a century. Today, Islam is the second most practiced religion on the planet next to Christianity, and the impact of Islam had arguably the same or greater impact on mankind than the religion of Christ. Okay, so the thing is about what did the spread of Islam do, right? So I start by talking about what was the spread of Islam. How did it do this? I think we've talked about Islam enough. We know that the religion with the most followers on the planet is Christianity, and second is Islam. And we talked about how it spread super, super fast. And if you thought about continents, you would know that at the height of the Ottoman Empire, you had Greece, part of Russia, was Muslim, right? Southwest Asia, the Middle East, that was Muslim. And the whole northern part of Africa across the Sahara was Muslim. So I'm just setting the stage, okay? And then here, I start with my thesis statement, and I think it's totally cool to start with the time period. During the time period of 800 CE to 1750 CE in Europe, the spread of Islam brought about changes in cultural diversity in the region, especially as in Spain, as shown through Islamic-inspired art and architecture and art. However, the region continued to be dominated by the rule of the Catholic Church, although it was challenged for the first time in history by the Muslim spread. And so there is my changes in Spain with architecture. It was dominated by the Catholic Church, but another change was it's the first time it was really challenged. And then I go in and just kind of throw in some extra stuff about the Crusades, and I just try to be all sort of extra there. The thing I want to show you guys, though, is how to structure your body paragraphs. And the body paragraphs should definitely have a feel to them like this, where it is topic sentence, okay, broad change, specific evidence of change and how it proves my thesis. Okay, and most people can knock out the broad change and the specific evidence, but people struggle with this. But by doing that, you're ensuring that you're getting the points. And so I'm going to give you some examples of how that looks. Okay. Try to zoom in, watch it. Oh, work beautifully, sort of. Okay. So perhaps the most significant change that resulted from the spread of Islam into Europe was a newfound multiculturalism in Spain. The area, which was culturally and linguistically Spanish, religiously Catholic, and generally homogeneous since the spread of Catholicism under the Roman Empire, began to focus on Islamic religion as well as its art and architecture. So that is my broad change. Now, I have to give examples of art and architecture, and I can do that. There's still evidence of this cultural interaction in Spain today, as seen in numerous examples of Islamic-style architecture throughout southern Spain. Specifically, just like the Hagia Sophia in Turkey, there is a building that was originally built as a mosque that was later converted into a Catholic church, which shows the dominance of the Catholic Church throughout the years in Spain, but also shows the influence of the outside Muslim culture. The church is now referred to as the Mosque Cathedral of Cordoba. It exemplifies this cultural interaction simply in its name. Okay, so now I have my broad change is art and architecture. My specific change, my specific evidence of change is that this mosque cathedral, and then now it is how it proves my thesis. This change was a significant one in Europe, as the dominant religion had been Christianity, but as shown in cultural changes such as architecture, Islam was asserting its influence there as well. But as Islamic, okay, so I'm saying this matters because Christianity was the dominant religion. However, we can see through the architecture that Islam was important there as well. And then I transition. And the gospel here, my guys, is you don't have to transition. It's nice to do. Okay? The next two paragraphs are going to be a paragraph about another change, a continuity, and then, and you can pause the screen, I think, I don't know. And then my last, me restating my thesis. But this right here is what I'd like for you guys to think about and take away from today. You have your topic sentence, which talks about your broad change, specific change, and how it proves your thesis. Okay. Also, in this packet that's linked in the description, you will see links to the sample essays that people wrote and how horrible or great they are. And that's what I got. So, blurryteacher.com here for you. Remember, if it ain't blurry, it ain't Mr. Brock, because being blurry is fun because it empowers Bethany. And it's still blurry. Ah! Stop it. Goodbye.